Exploring Life. Chapter 22, Ecology. Part 1. Ecology is the branch of biology that explores how living organisms interact with one another and with their physical environment. These interactions happen at many different scales: organismal, population, community, ecosystem, biome, biosphere. Ecology weaves these levels together to help us understand the full picture of life on our planet. At the smallest scale of ecological study, we focus on the individual organism and how it survives in its environment. This is the realm of organismal ecology, which explores how each species is shaped by its surroundings through behavior, genetics, and evolutionary history. One key area is physiology, how organisms regulate their internal processes, like maintaining body temperature or conserving water in a dry climate. Another focus is life history, the pattern of growth, development, reproduction, and survival over an organism's lifetime. These traits vary widely between species, depending on their environments. And then there are adaptations, specialized traits that increase the chances of survival and reproduction. These can be physical, like camouflage or mimicry, or behavioral, like migration or hibernation. Together, these features help organisms thrive in the specific conditions they face, whether it's a scorching desert, a deep ocean trench, or your own backyard. An organism's life history refers to the major events in its life, like how fast it grows, when it reproduces, and how long it survives. To study these patterns, ecologists use life tables. These tables track survival and reproduction rates at different ages, or sometimes based on size, especially in animals that grow throughout life. Wildlife ecologists use life tables to predict whether a population is growing, declining, or staying stable. This kind of data is especially valuable in conservation biology. By pinpointing when and where most deaths occur, or when reproduction is highest, scientists can design strategies to protect endangered species and support recovery. One key focus in organismal ecology is how living things adapt to survive and thrive. Some adaptations are physical, like camouflage, which allows an animal to blend into its environment, or mimicry, where one species evolves to resemble another, often to avoid predators. Others are behavioral adaptations, changes in how organisms act in response to challenges. For example, hibernation allows animals to conserve energy during cold seasons, while migration helps them escape harsh conditions or find better resources. Foraging behaviors are also important. These are strategies for finding food efficiently while minimizing risk. Together, these adaptations shape how organisms interact with their environments, increasing their chances of survival and reproduction. Animals have evolved a wide range of strategies to improve the survival of their offspring. In the top left, you can see the emergence of cicada broods. These insects spend over a decade underground and then rise in overwhelming numbers, all at once. The timing is no accident. By emerging together every 13 to 17 years, they overwhelm predators and increase their chances of mating and survival. The top right shows the leftover molts from this underground stage, empty shells marking a synchronized survival strategy in action. On the bottom left, Fowler's toad, a species common in eastern North America, demonstrates camouflage as a powerful tool. By blending into its environment, especially while hibernating, it stays hidden from predators through the colder months. And in the bottom right, Canada geese migrate long distances to escape harsh winters. This movement gives their young a better chance to survive and grow in more favorable conditions before returning north. Whether it's timing, camouflage, or long-distance travel, these strategies reflect the remarkable adaptability of life. Population ecology is the study of how and why populations change over time, and what factors influence those changes. At its core, it focuses on three key ideas. First, population size, the total number of individuals within a defined group. Second, population density, how many individuals are found in a specific area or volume, which helps ecologists understand how crowded or sparse a population is. And third, species range, the geographic area where a species is found. This range is shaped by environmental limits, such as temperature, moisture, and available habitat. Together, these concepts help ecologists track population trends and explore the forces that regulate growth, decline, and distribution. Within a population, individuals aren't always spread out evenly, and that spacing can tell us a lot about their behavior and environment. Ecologists recognize three basic dispersion patterns: clumped, uniform, and random. In a clumped pattern, individuals group together, often around resources, nesting sites, or for protection. This is the most common pattern in nature. Think of a school of fish or a herd of elephants. A uniform pattern means individuals are evenly spaced, often due to territorial behavior or competition, like penguins nesting at regular distances. The common gulls shown on the right have a similar pattern. And in a random pattern, individuals are distributed unpredictably, with no clear reason for their spacing. This can happen when environmental conditions are stable and resources are spread evenly. These patterns help ecologists understand the social behavior, resource use, and environmental pressures that shape population structure. The way individuals are arranged in space, called species distribution, can reveal much about their environment and interactions. There are three main distribution patterns in nature. Clumped dispersion occurs when individuals group together, often around resources or for social reasons, like oak trees growing where acorns fall, or schools of fish staying close for protection. Uniform dispersion means individuals are evenly spaced, usually due to territorial behavior or competition. Nesting penguins are a classic example. They keep a consistent distance to avoid conflict. Random dispersion happens when individuals are spread without a clear pattern. This occurs when conditions are uniform and interactions are minimal, like wind-dispersed seeds or coral eggs drifting in water. These patterns help ecologists understand how species live, compete, and respond to their surroundings. Survivorship curves show how the likelihood of survival changes throughout an organism's life, from birth to old age. These curves are based on life table data and reveal different survival strategies across species. Type 1, high survival through early and middle life, with most deaths occurring in old age. Seen in humans and other large mammals that invest heavily in a few offspring. Type 2, a consistent risk of death at all ages. Common in species like songbirds, where mortality is steady over time. Type 3, high mortality in early life, but those that survive tend to live long. Found in organisms like trees, corals, and many fish, which produce many offspring with little or no parental care. These patterns help ecologists compare how species balance reproduction, survival, and parental investment. Looking at the diagram, we can compare how survival changes across the lifespan in different species. Notice how type 1 stays high for most of the curve, then drops sharply, indicating most individuals live a long time before mortality increases. Type 2 shows a steady, straight decline, suggesting that the chance of dying remains about the same at any age. In contrast, type 3 starts with a steep drop, showing that many individuals die young, but the curve flattens, meaning those who survive the early stage tend to persist. These visual patterns quickly communicate survival trends and reveal how different species allocate energy toward offspring, care, and longevity. Different species have different strategies for survival and reproduction, often shaped by their environment. K-selected species invest heavily in a few offspring. They tend to follow a type 1 survivorship curve, with high survival early in life and fewer births overall. They grow slowly, mature later, and often have long lifespans. Parents provide significant care, helping ensure their young survive. Examples include elephants, whales, and humans. On the other hand, our selected species follow a type 3 survivorship curve. They produce many offspring, but invest little or no energy in raising them. They grow quickly, mature early, and often have short lifespans. Think of insects, weeds, and marine invertebrates like dandelions and sea urchins. While these are two ends of a spectrum, many species fall somewhere in between, balancing survival and reproduction in their own unique way. Species adapt their reproductive strategies to match their environment. K-selected species thrive in stable settings, favoring long-term survival when resources are predictable. In contrast, our selected species are built for change, thriving in disturbed or unpredictable environments. After events like natural disasters, our selected species rebound quickly thanks to rapid reproduction and frequent genetic variation. These strategies reflect nature's trade-off between quantity and quality, and between resilience and stability. Population growth models help ecologists understand how populations change over time and what limits their growth. In the simplest terms, these models describe how the number of individuals in a population increases, levels off, or declines, depending on environmental conditions. One key idea is carrying capacity, the maximum number of individuals that an environment can sustainably support. Carrying capacity depends on resources like food, water, space, and shelter. When a population grows too large, competition increases, resources run low, and growth slows down. These models are essential tools for predicting how species respond to changes in their environment, whether it's climate shifts, habitat loss, or conservation efforts. The exponential growth model describes how a population grows when resources are unlimited and conditions are ideal. In this model, the larger the population gets, the faster it grows, because the growth rate applies to every individual. The formula is dn divided by dt equals r times n. Here's what each term means. dn is the change in population size. dt is the change in time. R is the intrinsic growth rate, the difference between birth rate and death rate. N is the current population size. As n increases, the total growth increases too. This creates a J-shaped curve, slow at first, then rapidly rising. Exponential growth can occur for short periods, like bacteria in a lab, but in nature, it eventually slows down as resources become limited. The logistic growth model shows how populations grow when resources are limited. Growth starts out fast, like exponential growth, but slows as the population nears the carrying capacity, or K. That's the maximum number the environment can support. The formula is dn divided by dt equals r times n times k minus n divided by k. Here's what the terms mean. dn is the change in population size. dt is the change in time. R is the intrinsic growth rate. N is the current population size. K is the carrying capacity. The extra factor, k minus n, divided by k, slows growth as the population gets closer to the limit. The graph shows that population growth is rapid at first but slows as density increases. As more individuals share space, resources like food, shelter, and mates become limited, leading to greater competition. This often reduces birth rates or reproductive success. For example, some songbirds produce fewer offspring in high-density areas due to stress or lack of nesting sites. A similar trend appears in cities, where wildlife struggles to reproduce because of pollution, noise, and habitat loss, unlike in rural areas with more space and resources. In this way, population density acts as a natural brake, slowing growth and forming the classic S-shaped curve. As population density rises, it directly affects how fast a population grows. With more individuals sharing space, resources like food, shelter, and mates become limited, leading to greater competition. This often lowers birth rates or reduces reproductive success. For example, some songbirds have fewer offspring in dense areas due to stress, competition, or fewer nesting sites. We see similar patterns in humans. In crowded urban areas, average family size is smaller than in rural areas with more space. In this way, population density acts as a natural regulator, slowing growth when conditions become crowded. Community ecology is the study of how different species interact within a shared environment. Instead of focusing on just one species, it looks at the entire group of interacting organisms, called a community, and how they influence one another's survival, reproduction, and behavior. Community ecologists explore questions like: why do certain species live together? How do predators, prey, and competitors shape each other's populations? What allows species to coexist or exclude one another? It's important to distinguish between a community, which includes just the living organisms, and an ecosystem, which also includes the non-living environment, like soil, water, and climate. Together, these concepts help us understand the complex web of life in any given habitat, from coral reefs to rainforests to city parks. Within a community, species constantly interact, and these interactions influence how populations grow, survive, and evolve. One key interaction is competition, where species compete for limited resources like food, water, or space. When resources are scarce, competition can be intense and may lead to one species outcompeting another. In mutualism, both species benefit. A classic example is pollination. Bees collect nectar while helping plants reproduce. Other interactions include herbivory and predation. In herbivory, animals feed on plants, often triggering plant defenses. In predation, one animal kills and eats another, shaping prey behavior and population size. In parasitism, one species benefits while the other is harmed. Parasites live on or in a host and take nutrients at the host's expense. Together, These interactions shape the structure and balance of ecological communities. Every community has a unique structure, shaped by which species are present and how common they are. Two key features define this structure. First, species richness, which simply means the number of different species in a community. Second, relative abundance, the proportion of each species in relation to the total. A community where one species dominates looks very different from one where many species are present in equal numbers. Together, these characteristics contribute to biodiversity. Communities with high species richness and balanced abundance tend to be more stable and resilient, better able to recover from disturbances like disease, drought, or climate shifts. In short, greater diversity often means greater strength, both for ecosystems and the species that depend on them. In the remaining parts of this lecture, we'll explore the structure and function of ecosystems, the diversity of biomes, and the interconnected systems that make up the biosphere. We'll also examine how the biosphere shapes Earth's atmosphere, climate, and geological processes, and why biodiversity is critical for maintaining long-term ecological balance and supporting life on our planet.